Welcome back to BCM's Bluff City Media's breaking news podcast. I've got Roman Cleary up here next to me. I've got our guy Hitman Hoops down here. Y'all know that if we're doing a podcast together, there's some big breaking news that's happening. And obviously, the University of Memphis has announced today that Malcolm Dandridge is not going to be available for the FAU game. And so I think there's probably a lot of questions about it, like what happened, what's going on. I'll be frank with you, we don't know exactly what the statement will say in terms of the reasoning given. But I think the three of us wanted to jump on here and kind of give some context, right? Like give some context to what's going on within the University of Memphis basketball program. Basically, what we have been told is that there is an investigation that is happening right now within the University of Memphis and their compliance department with the University of Memphis basketball program regarding an academic, and I guess you could use the word scandal. Maybe technically the right word would be an academic fraud. Now, we won't get necessarily too deep into the details of what we found out because the investigation is still going on as we speak. But unfortunately, it looks like that Malcolm Dandridge is wrapped up in the middle of this. And that is the reason why he is out for this game against FAU, potentially for the rest of the year as well. Guys, do y'all want to add any more context to this and kind of what we know, what we don't know?
Well, there isn't much that we know right now other than what you just said a second ago. I guess it's just a really unfortunate situation for a program that has been dealing with a lot of stuff within, their compliance and their program for like the past 3-4 years now, really. You have the James Wiseman stuff from 4 years ago. Penny got suspended for 3 games earlier this year for a recruiting violation. Because of that, the university has been on probation now, and they will be on probation until like 2028, 2029, something like that. And if the NCAA decides to get involved with this again, that probation could extend, and perhaps other penalties could be subjected upon the university if the NCAA finds anything that is a violation. So it's a very unfortunate development for the program, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And my only thing is, are there more players involved? And from what I'm hearing right now is that there could be more players involved on the team. And, it comes at a time in the season to where the team, the staff, they're already dealing with losses. They're already dealing with reported and kind of hinted at locker room issues. So it couldn't have come at a worse time in the season. And I think that, and honestly, like my gut tells me that I haven't gotten this confirmed, but my gut tells me there may be more players involved. So it's rare that you see only one player involved in what was termed as a scandal. From the source in the compliance department. So
I mean,
it's rarely only involving one player.
Is it really a scandal if it's just one guy? Is that really a scandal at the end of the day? I don't think it is.
It could be also. They could term it as a scandal just because it goes across multiple sports. The university could be termed as a scandal just because of its ramifications, potential NCAA violations. I don't know. It's developing right now. I haven't gotten a firm grasp on the situation, but it is significant. So
yeah, but the point, regardless, is that Malcolm Dandridge could or could not be the figurehead for this whole thing. We really have no idea. The information that even we have right now is very limited and very sparse. But there's no way that this can be termed as something as serious as fraud or a scandal without other parties being involved there.
Yeah, and again, like I think all three of us have mentioned, this is an ongoing, like in the middle of investigation. Like this investigation is brand new. It is just getting started. It is significant that obviously Malcolm's name was introduced to the equation almost immediately. Almost makes you wonder if maybe the University of Memphis is trying to get ahead of this in order to maybe self-report and throw themselves at the mercy of the court in terms of the NCAA, because I think both of you guys have hit on this. Like, not only does this come at the worst possible time for the University of Memphis in this season, but in the sense of where this program stands in the eyes of the NCAA, in just in the way that they have moved, I think, as a program over the last few years. This is not good. Like, this is, and I think this needs to be reiterated, this is a very, very, very serious situation that could have ramifications for years down the line for the University of Memphis if the NCAA decides to investigate, which, Roman, I want to break some news to you as well. They're going to.
Oh,
Like,
for real? No way. What?
Like, they will absolutely. I said this to you a few days ago when all this was coming out, where we were talking about this, that the NCAA is going to install a satellite office outside of Indianapolis in Memphis, Tennessee, next door to the basketball program, and they are going to examine the University of Memphis's program for years to come. If what we are hearing is true.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think we brought it up in the open, right? It's another really damning investigation for this program that has already dealt with so much under Penny Hardaway. And now you're getting to the point where Penny was able to avoid any sort of significant penalty the first time with the James Wiseman stuff, largely because that investigation was done by the IARP, which was, of course, defunct like a year ago. Memphis was one of their last cases. You also have the Kansas stuff that was investigated by the IARP, and of course, Kansas got off pretty easy as well. This will almost certainly be an actual NCAA, run investigation, and the NCAA has been known to hit pretty hard with, lack of institutional control type instances like this could definitely end up being. I mean, Penny claimed to not really know he was breaking rules with the 3-game suspension thing earlier this year, but the recruiting violation where he visited a recruit in Texas illegally before he was supposed to, and Penny's claim in that court case was, I didn't know I was breaking the rule, and the NCAA more or less told him, yeah, we could not care less. So not knowing and not being aware just simply isn't a good enough excuse. The NCAA has already proven that. So this could be lack of institutional control. This could be a show cause penalty. This could be a lot of very significant penalties, not just on the university, but Penny Hardaway himself, which could maybe even, bring a premature end to the Penny Hardaway tenure here in Memphis, which, of course, Penny, he's Memphis's favorite son, and he was brought here to rebuild this program and bring it back to glory. And if this is how his tenure is ultimately defined, that would be a very unfortunate thing for him, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Penny, kind of that, go back to legal terms, that mistake of fact or mistake of law defense, and having that mindset in the past with the previous allegations. I just don't know if that really applies here, which is why I don't really see him taking the kind of the bulk of the attention or the negative press on this one. I think it. There's only so much a head coach can do, and if it's academics, I mean, could he really have prevented this? That's the way I look at it. So I don't know if it's. I mean, he could face, some potential potential punishments from the NCAA, but I just don't see it right now.
Yeah,
with
but
what I know.
But there's the logical perspective, and there's the NCAA perspective, which
But again,
is proven to be inconsistent and flawed, and
but again, we're
overall incoherent a lot of the time. So
True, true.
It's just very unpredictable. At the end of
We're
the day,
seeing,
they could definitely look at it as a more black and white situation. Hey, he's the head coach and he allowed this to happen. Whether or not context actually proves that to be true or not is irrelevant to them a lot of the time.
again, we're seeing the NCAA through each and every new court ruling. I think today they just lost another court ruling in Tennessee that I think the University of Tennessee, I think University of Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I know Tennessee was involved. We're seeing their power dwindle in each and every court case decision. And I just don't think the NCAA is really powerful enough to kind of get involved. I just don't see them really showing their presence as much as we think they will in this situation.
I can definitely see that point, but at the same time, those were over NIL violations, and NIL stuff. I mean, that can easily be argued away in court all day long. But this is academic fraud that we're talking about here. I mean, that's illegal in pretty much every single way you can put it. That's cause for expulsion in most universities. That's cause for taking away degrees and diplomas. I don't know if there's much the court of law can do about that, as opposed to NIL stuff.
Yeah, and again, I want to put alleged in front of academic fraud, just alleged, because we don't know all the facts yet.
Yeah, for sure.
We only know what's on the surface right now. And it's not much. There's
and again, just to reiterate, like, this is an ongoing investigation. So, it's kind of hard to talk about an investigation and the results and findings of it until the investigation is done. But
of course, there is always the scenario where the investigation comes up with nothing and it turns out Malcolm was framed somehow or something. That's always a possibility too, even though as unlikely as it may be, that is also a possibility.
Look,
let's go ahead.
I'm going to add one quick point real quick. And I think it's smart of Penny to hold out Malcolm on Sunday's game against FAU. It's a huge game. They need Malcolm, hell of a player this season. But it's smart. Penny's doing the right thing. He's obviously learned from the James Wiseman incident when he knowingly put him out there, kind of stick it to the NCAA. But this is similar situation in the fact that he has the option to put him out there or not. And I think he's doing the right thing. And I think he should be credited this for the end, which is why I really don't see him facing the consequences that he faced last time. But again, we can transition to the next topic if you want, Kenny.
No, it's just it is wild how different. One of the things we talked about that even the commentators for the Charlotte game or the SMU game talked about was how Penny's learning how to still be a coach. And I think that this is a part of it as well, right? Like, the response to the James Wiseman stuff was much different than the response to this situation. And so I think your point is well taken, Hitman, in that, definitely there seems to be a level of let us handle this in-house. We are going to deal with this. And just know that we're going to handle this in a way that we think is going to make the NCAA happy. Now, again, it's just like in any kind of, in the real world, if a person is on probation, it's okay for me to carry a gun around because I'm not on probation or on parole. But if a person has a history of committing felonies, they're not allowed to handle a weapon, right? Because they're on probation or they're on parole. They will go to jail for that. You could kind of use that same analogy to this situation, man. They are on probation. They have had 3 pretty big investigations into their program in the last 6 years. And this could potentially be, if the NCAA decides that they want to look into it more after the compliance team at Memphis and finishes their investigation, this could be the 4th. And so the standard for them might be different than what it would be for another school that's not on probation or doesn't have this level of kind of recent history. So all that to say, man, we don't know. We're here to give you what we know, kind of analyze like maybe what this means. And so I think let's move to the next topic real quick. What does this mean for the rest of the year? Obviously, Memphis is coming off a really rough stretch of basketball with a very clear lineup change, some decisions that Penny made that produced one of the more dominant wins of the year against Charlotte, which was second in the conference. And I think a lot of the feelings around the team were like, okay, if Penny continues to make these decisions, this team can be very dangerous when they go to the AAC tournament. What does this mean? And I'll offer this up to both of y'all. What does this mean for the Tigers moving forward for the rest of the year?
Well, losing Malcolm's tough. Let's not sugarcoat that. It's tough. You're talking about your best big man, your best rebounder, probably your best defender as well. And when you lose that this late in the year, that's a massive blow. It really is. But Memphis has proven in the past that it can survive without him. They've run plenty of lineups without Malcolm on the floor for extended periods of time throughout the past few weeks, and they have been reasonably successful. I think back to Wichita State when they ran a five of Quinterly, David Jones, Walton, Jourdain, and Tomlin that blew the doors off of Wichita in those final 7-8 minutes and led a double-digit comeback that arguably saved Memphis' season at the time there. So Memphis has proven that it can survive without Malcolm. They can still find a way to win games, but it's the road of winning the AAC tournament and getting back to the big dance for the third straight year. It undoubtedly gets a lot harder.
Yeah, and I think the part that scares me a little bit, Roman, is that the lineup change that we saw was that they introduced Malcolm back into the starting rotation and put Naquan at the 3, right?
And it worked brilliantly.
And it worked brilliantly.
Yeah, you're bigger. You're able to rebound the ball a lot better. Memphis got 14 offensive boards compared to just 4 for Charlotte on Wednesday night. And it really looked like the Tigers had found something there. I mean, we spoke to Penny at the presser earlier today. We're recording this on Friday night. And the rebounding was pretty much his primary motivation, his primary reason for throwing that lineup out there. And it worked perfectly. And you got the sense that Memphis had finally found a winning formula that can really take them all the way back to the NCAA tournament and an AAC tournament title for the second straight year. And now that's gone, and you have to figure something else out all over again. Mm-hmm. Now, again, you have experience running the 5 that I mentioned before, of JQ, Jones, Walton, Jourdain, and Tomlin. But as good as that lineup has been at times, it wasn't nearly as lethal as what we saw on Wednesday, and Memphis is going to have to adjust accordingly.
Yeah, and obviously this frees up minutes for Jordan Brown at the 5. Didn't play last game because of injury, but I think he'll be ready this Sunday against FAU, and he'll be more than ready to step in place for Malcolm at that 5. And we'll really see what Jordan Brown can do. There hasn't been a moment this season to where Jordan Brown was really the only 5 on the roster, so undoubtedly his usage is going to increase. We may see a few offensive sets ran through Jordan Brown to get him a touch in the post and let him work his finesse game around the rim, which he did really well last year in Louisiana. So I think
we haven't seen that at all this year, though.
Exactly, yeah. And again, Penny mentioned in the post-game presser that it was kind of a weird phrasing of how he put it. He's not the best at phrasing things, but he said that they finally ran plays, and they're going to continue to do that, which is a weird thing for a coach to say.
Can we clear this up? He didn't mean they just finally ran plays. They ran different plays. Like
they ran plays that worked.
They ran plays that worked, like that which you would expect that's an obvious thing, right? Like I saw people freaking out online today. Oh, they just now started actually running plays. Look what happens when you actually, man, come on, man. Y'all, people need to chill out with that. Like they know.
They started running plays that work. They started running stuff other than give David Jones the ball and get out of the way.
Yeah, and I think again, I said he's not the best at phrasing things. I think what he meant to say is that they had a system today and they stuck to it, right? Right. Principles that they stuck to. And again, I mean, you're not going to run a play every down in the half court. There's no way. It's practically impossible to do that unless you're playing at the slowest pace in the country. Your offense 50%, 60% of the time runs based on principle, right? And I think that's what he, kind of was trying to convey to the media. Obviously, people are going to run with that quote, like you said. It was kind of a weird way to phrase it, but again, like what he was trying to say is that they stuck to the principles of their offense that they implemented in the offseason. So it'll be interesting to see if they do try to feed Jordan Brown in the post, get him some touches. Again, FAU, they've got Vlad Golden 7'2", but I mean that's pretty much it in terms of size and bigs. So
hey, let's do this in the next 4. Let's do this in the next 4 minutes. All right, let's try to get out of here in 25 minutes.
Let me mention one more thing. They're going to have to match Jordan Brown a lot on defense because he has not been a great defender throughout his college career and especially this season. So they're going to have to find ways to protect him on that end if they're going to give him an extended role.
They'll have to adjust all of their ball screen coverages. Malcolm's, I mean, relative to his size,
Malcolm is very fleet-footed. Yes,
he's a pretty good perimeter defender for his size. I mean, he can hedge a ball screen, but get Jordan Brown on the perimeter. I hate to say it, that's not a strong suit.
To the point where sometimes Malcolm's ability to hedge gets him fouls, right? Like because he gets a little over aggressive with it. But no, man,
you
like
see that with Tomlin too.
You see that with Tomlin too. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right, now we got 3 minutes. Let's do this in 3 minutes. All right. You guys have kind of hinted at it already and kind of talked about it and even disagreed a little bit, and I think that's totally fine. What is this in terms of this? What we've talked about with this potential investigation into potential alleged academic fraud at the University of Memphis involving, Malcolm Dandridge. What does this do for Penny? For his legacy, like does he I know Roman, you've been pretty clear about it. You think it could damage it and possibly end his tenure. Hitman has said maybe slow down on that a little bit. But in terms of just kind of go into depth more a little bit on that, what are y'all's thoughts?
Well, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Hitman on that, but I think I am taking the worst case scenario, factor into it maybe a bit more than he is, and I get that, but Penny's legacy is really going to honestly depend on what happens here. Is he going to prove to be a target of this investigation like he's been in the past? Or is it going to be what, the scenario that Hitman laid out where it focuses more on the actual people that are directly involved, in this supposed fraud, alleged scandal. So I think the way the people view Penny after this is going to depend on a lot of external factors that are largely outside of his control.
Yeah, and like you said, I kind of take the more optimistic side. I just don't think that. I think this is a different situation than what we've seen in the past with violations at Memphis. I think we'll see more of the focus on the player and on whoever, the academic advisor, maybe they face punishment. Instead of Penny. I just don't think the staff, and let's look at it from a logical perspective, I don't think the staff could have prevented this, let alone knew about it, that it was ongoing.
Yeah, they were clearly blindsided by this. They were clearly blindsided by it, for sure.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Exactly. And I just think it's unfair, and I just don't think it's practical that the staff would have to face consequences for the actions of someone else when A, they didn't know what was going on, and B, there was no way for them to even step in and prevent it. I mean, they've done everything right since finding it out, compliance taking over the investigation. And, I just don't think they should. I don't think they will, and I don't think they should face punishment. So,
well, whether they should or not is a very objective discussion. But my point is that the NCAA has dismissed the "we didn't know" excuse all before. They've already said before with a few different things that that's not good enough. So that scenario could definitely play out again. You just never know.
Yeah, I think I kind of in that sense tend to say the we didn't know excuse is not saying that they're not saying that it's false if they do investigate Penny Hardaway or in any situation that we've seen in terms of the NCAA investigating any institution. I don't think they're saying that this is false, that you did know. What they're saying is you should have known, but it's just not good enough. That's why they have instituted that idea of the lack of institutional control. Now, all that to say, the Penny and the staff's response, the compliance department's immediate jumping into the middle of this and investigating only bodes well for what the NCAA might look at in terms of this. They're not covering it up. They are embracing this. They are trying to see their way through it. They have obviously, removed a player off the court, and they are complying with the compliance office. So that bodes well, I think, in terms of the overall ramifications of what could happen here.
Yeah, for sure. Hitman, any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, just real quick. It's not that they should. The should have known defense is kind of like that negligent mental state. I wouldn't even say that a mental state exists in this, because it's not like they should have known about the violation. That's what happened with the Wiseman and then the other violations. But this is something that was beneath them. They had no idea this was going on. It's not like they should have known it was going on. They had just legit no idea. So I think the two defenses, if we're going to take it from a legal standpoint, there is no mental state in this, so they can't be at fault for what happened. That's my reasoning with the whole situation.
Right.
I don't want to get legal with it, but that's just my, you have to have a mental state and then an act to occur, and there's no mental state from the way I view it. So.
Well, listen, guys, this is not how I wanted to spend one of my weekend nights, talking with you all about a potential academic scandal at the University of Memphis, but you got to talk about it when you hear about it, when it happens. And I think that obviously this is tough news for a program that has experienced tough times this year already. So with that, man, y'all stick with Roman Cleary. Is it ROA Clear on X.com?
Yep.
Check out Bluff City _media, and check out Hitman Hoops on Twitter as well, or on X.com. Follow along. We will be kind of on the front lines of all this and give you all the information that we can when we have it. So appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you back here next time.